I'm Sandy Weiner. I am the Chief Love Officer at Last First Date, and this is my amazing son, Max.
Hi, everybody.
He is an incredible artist and musician, and he's very smart when it comes to dating and relationships. So he's joining me here today to talk about ghosting. And if you've ever been ghosted, you know how much it sucks. And
why does it suck?
It sucks because you feel rejected, you feel ignored, you're like, what the hell happened? I have no closure.
Because you go from talking to somebody every day or every other day and having them in your life and you think everything's going great, and then all of a sudden radio silence, and it feels terrible.
That's right. So we want to help you by talking a little bit about what ghosting is, what it's not, and what to do if you are either the person who ghosts or you are the recipient of the ghoster, so that you can retain your dignity and really just not get dejected by so-called rejection of ghosting.
Also, while we're talking about this, you guys can write your comments down, share stories if you've ever been ghosted before, because I think that might start a nice conversation, so people can see maybe there's similarities or things that you can learn from each other.
We want to hear from you. So what is ghosting? We talked a little bit just now about what ghosting is. It is really when somebody just stops talking to you, whether it's by phone or by text, somebody you've been in contact with that you've already had at least a phone call, a first date, sometimes many dates, and
more of a connection than just like, chatting, what's up, how you doing, hello beautiful. I'm sure you've all gotten those texts before. More than that, when you really start to form a connection with somebody and then they go silent on you.
Yeah, where'd they go? Ghosting is not when you've just been chatting on an app and it doesn't go anywhere and the person disappears, because this happens all the time. If you've been dating on apps or dating sites for any length of time, you know that people just stop talking, and give them a few days. They may come back, but if they don't come back after a few days and you're not happy about that.
I definitely struggled in the past, and still sometimes it comes up where if somebody doesn't respond back immediately, because we're all so used to that immediate verification, validation.
Mm-hmm.
And if the person doesn't write back immediately, you start going, what did I do? Do they like me still? Oh my God. And then it's like all those negative self voices that you really just need to tell, to shut up, or really look at what's going on and seeing, wow, I get really anxious when I don't hear back from someone. Is it something I can work on? Because at the end of the day, you have to be okay not hearing from people. Everybody should be having a busy, full life without you. That's I think, at least my ideal is that I'm living a full, purposeful life. And when I choose to connect with people, it's a meaningful, really great, connection time, but I'm making time for them because my life is so fulfilled. So you really need, if you're getting triggered by those things, it's really important to put the phone down. That's what we were talking about. And not, realizing that there could be a million reasons why they're not responding to you. It may be that they aren't into you anymore. Maybe that they met somebody else, but that can't be your default. You have to, come at it from a full place in your heart, or else you're just going to, constantly feel heartbroken all the time, which is not a way to go about it.
Yeah, that's true. And we definitely can make up stories in our heads so easily, especially for anxious people, and look to ourselves first. Like, what did I do? What did I do? And usually it's not about you. It's
right.
The other person got busy. It's like, you should not be checking your apps or your dating sites every 5 minutes and, oh my God, refresh. Did they write me back? Or if you're texting, like, you're off the apps.
Yeah.
That too, it's like, go live your life. But the other part of it is, and I want to say, is that it's also important to let the other person know how you communicate. Like, if you're in any type of relationship already, and let's say you set a date and the other person hasn't confirmed the date, let the person know that you love to have a confirmation the day of the date, just to touch base. Like, if you haven't let the other person know how you communicate, you're just relying on their style of communication.
And then you make up stories in your head. Oh, they're such a jerk, or whatever it is, if they didn't do this, or they forgot about me. And then it's all the negative self voices because you're not speaking up. And right. You always say nobody can read your mind. So it's like,
yeah,
100%.
And exactly. And also when somebody is not communicating back with you and you're making up a story, if they do reach out after a day or so, you're already usually so pissed off at them that it's like you're going to bring anger to the conversation, like even if you're not expressing it.
Right.
And
I had that happen to me before where,
Did you?
The couple relationships ago, this person was so upset about something that we were talking about and they never let me know. And then it just manifested later on. She goes, "Can I talk to you about this? A couple weeks ago, you said this thing." And I was like, "Oh my God, like I knew that you were angry about something, but you have to tell me these things. Like if
Right.
you don't speak up, I can't know." And I'm walking around feeling like, "Oh, I didn't do anything wrong." And she's upset about something else. And it's like, you have to talk. Because this is a thing. It's like, what's going on? What's on your mind? And it's the same thing with ghosting, where if you're not feeling a connection with somebody, don't for their sake not say anything or just disappear. No one's going to win that way. You're going to feel all sorts of ways, and the other person's going to go through the whole gamut of emotions. It's just so much easier for everyone if you just say, "I'm not feeling a romantic connection." That's a nice and easy way to do it. "I'm not feeling a romantic connection. Good luck in your journey. And, I'll see you later." It's just a clean way to do it and you feel better.
Right, exactly. And, people are really afraid of conflict. Often, if you come from a home where when you spoke up, people didn't respect you,
Right.
or it's happened in other relationships, a lot of times you're afraid to say the truth. But it's an important skill to build, which is why I focus so much in my work in communication skills and boundary setting and letting people know, like, this is how I like to be communicated with, and I want to understand you too. And so if you've been doing that, you shouldn't be in a relationship where 9 months down the road you get ghosted. Like the Sex and the City episode where the person broke up with her on a Post-it note. I mean, this is like pre-ghosting. This was like a terrible thing to do, because the person doesn't have the courage to say to your face or on the phone or in a text. If you've been seeing somebody for a long time, please don't text them to end the relationship.
Or leave it on a post-it.
Or leave it on a Post-it. Have the courage to be face to face and tell somebody, "Look, I really care about you and I really wanted this to work, but it's just not working for me."
And we talked about this before too, about at work, doing all these things, not only for dating. You have to be like this in every area of your life, at work especially, setting limits with bosses, boundaries rather, with bosses or coworkers, people who push your buttons the wrong way, customers if you're working in retail or whatever it is. If you don't speak your truth, if you don't communicate, because really at the end of the day, this is all about learning how to communicate properly, which is, I think, such a huge cornerstone of any successful friendship, relationship, anything. You have to be like this in every area of your life, because if you're not, and then all of a sudden in a relationship, a difficult thing comes up and you just run away, you're going to repeat that everywhere and you're not going to reach the level of success that you can. Your life is limitless when you unlock communication skills. And it really is a beautiful thing that I think more people need to learn how to experience. And the language is different from everyone, but all these things go hand in hand. So it's a gift when you learn how to do it, I think.
I totally agree. And I'm glad that you always bring it into the rest of our lives.
It's true. It's all connected.
It is all connected. And I have to say that in my coaching, when I work privately with somebody, in our first session, I tell them, "I'd never want you to go to leave our session with anything unspoken, because I don't want you to go home and think, wow, Sandy's a terrible coach, or she did something that hurt my feelings. I want you to talk to me about it so that we can talk about it and we can resolve it." And so
I have a quote for you.
Yeah.
"If you don't know, you can't grow."
Ooh,
and it's really
nice.
important. You have to be able to speak things the other person can know. It even helps for yourself to hear the words out loud, because a lot of times when you're ruminating or you're going through all of the events in your head, it piles up, it causes a traffic jam, you start to get confused and upset. And when you say it out loud, it's like the floodgate opens and the pressure comes down and you feel more relieved, you feel better. So when you are speaking and communicating with people, you feel more at peace and at ease, and then you can invite in positive energy in your life. You can have more success because you're not so anxious and stressed out all the time. I mean, all these things go hand in hand. I've seen it, you've seen it. I'm sure you guys all have seen it in some way.
Yeah,
So
you're getting out of your head and really finding out the truth. And so ghosting just makes you think, I did something. What happened? I don't know.
Did we discuss why
So,
people ghost or
yeah,
no?
so let's talk about why people ghost. Often, if somebody's not into you, they just don't want to hurt your feelings and they will just disappear. And I remember I was once presenting for a panel and they had men and women in the audience. And one of the questions that the audience had was, why do people just disappear? Why does somebody why does a man, one of the women in the audience says, why does a man say he wants to go out with me again and then he doesn't follow through? And the man who she was talking about happened to be in the audience. It was really
Oh
a
my
funny
God.
thing, right? So he said, listen, she didn't want to out him, but he outed himself and he said, I'm happy to answer that. I think you're lovely, but I didn't feel a connection and I was raised to be a gentleman and not hurt women's feelings. So I want to say to that, first of all, I was so excited to see that he stood up and was brave enough to say
Right, he
that.
owned it.
He owned it, but he also heard from the woman, hey, I don't
Yeah.
like when you make false promises. And so I think
What
we
was the
need
false
to,
promise?
the false promise was, I'd love to see you again.
But didn't he tell her that? And then
He told her that and then he didn't follow through.
right. So I mean, I think
That's a lie.
she was in the right then for calling him out because he kind of was a bit of a hypocrite then.
Right. So he thought, I want to see you again, or I had a great time. Let's do it again. It's like
She was calling him forward to say you need to be able to communicate better.
Don't say I want to see you again if you don't.
And it's really important because I learned this the hard way with my last relationship. It was like love is a sliding scale. It's never, even if I'm feeling really passionate about somebody right now, it doesn't mean that in a couple of hours I'm still going to feel the same way. I mean, they're chemicals in your body that are reacting to different things, and you can have a very meaningful connection with somebody, and just like that, it can be different. So I think it's really important to focus on the present and really be in alignment with your life and with yourself. Is this feeling truthful? Is this feeling real? Because just because he said I love you to somebody, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be with them forever and ever. Which kind of gets back to this point too, that if you're not feeling the connection anymore, even if you said I love you to the other person, it's okay to end it. It's better if you do, so that you can go be with people who are more your vibe and your speed, but you have to be direct. Because if you don't, it's just going to be a weird purgatory type of limbo place, and it doesn't work for anybody.
Right. And if you're just staying because you're afraid of hurting somebody's feelings, you're not being honest to yourself or the other person, which is a bad thing. So
that's why you need to be in touch with yourself and be in a relationship with yourself first, so that you know what you like and don't like, versus looking for external validation to shape who you are. But that's a whole other conversation.
Right. So, but it all starts here. So if you know yourself, like this isn't feeling right, this isn't feeling good, this person's feeling needy, or it doesn't feel like a good fit anymore. Which is
what I had the last.
Right. So tell a little bit about your experience.
No, I mean, I recently had, a couple dates with this woman that I knew, and, on the last date, I made a move and we ended up, kissing, and it was taking it from just a friendship or whatever this was, hanging out, into something more intimate. And the minute we became intimate, it was just like, before we even kissed or anything like that, it was, what are we doing here? What's this? And I was like, oh no, in my head, I'm already realizing that this person wanted things that I didn't want. And I was just trying to be in the moment and have, a fun experience and a connection with her. And it was all these things are coming out. I'm jealous, I'm needy. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to pressure you into doing anything. I'm just, here to be present with you. I'm enjoying your company right now. And this seemed like the right moment, move to do. And we had a fun night. And later I realized this is not a romantic connection that I want to pursue. I don't want to follow through with this, or follow up with this rather, for another date or anything more, because she wants something I don't want, because I have done the work and I know what I want now. I'm 30 years old, and a lot of people don't realize this until they're 60, or really ever realize this. And it's so important to know what you want and come from a place of abundance, because you are good with you. So you're not looking for that from other people. But I actually sent her a text message later. We had been, casually texting back and forth. And I just realized, I saw where it was going. And I said to her, I had you approve the text first because, you're the expert, but it was one of those things where it was like, I don't want to slow fade you. I don't want to ghost you. I know what that feels like, and I'm not going to do it. And I'm not feeling a romantic connection. I really enjoyed spending time with you. Good luck with everything. And she was respectful of it, I think, because, you know, I was being honest. And it was one of those things where if you don't speak up, it's just going to be a terrible thing, you know, for your own emotional, the way that you feel about yourself. I'm not being honest. I'm not being straightforward with people. It manifests in every area of your life. So you got to be straightforward.
Yeah. And you might piss people off, you know, so
Right.
the easy thing would have been not to say anything.
Exactly. And I've contemplated ghosting
you
completely.
totally
I was like,
did.
why do I need to bring this up? And you're like, you know, is that going to be in alignment with your integrity? And that was I think that was the move that was like, no, it's not. I wouldn't want that
Right.
to receive that.
So that's a good thing to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Like, would I be happy if somebody pulled the slow fade on me? And, you know, and it's okay to change your mind about somebody. In the moment you felt something, and then right after it was like, wait a minute, she's super needy and insecure, and now I'm feeling pressure, and I don't want to continue this.
That's a line from, there's a Casey Musgraves, this artist, who just released a song called Justified. And there's a line in there. It's like, if I hate you, then I love you and I change my mind. And it's like, just, you can change your mind all the time, but you know, you just have to be honest with yourself. Is this what I want? And then we're talking about the line that everybody does, oh, but I still want to be friends.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be friends. I didn't say that because I know that wouldn't be truthful. So I just said, good luck with everything. And I think she even said, it feels like I'm losing a friend, and that's okay if that's, you know, if our interests are different, because that is what it is. I mean, that's the truth. I don't want to string someone along. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, it's a common thing that people will say, let's be friends, and then they collect a whole bunch of friends that they don't really like.
Yeah.
And that's like, what if you wanted to be their friend, fine. But don't just say it because you're afraid of hurting their feelings.
Or keeping someone around for validation, and you're not going to, you know, be intimate with them. I mean, I've had that happen where I allowed myself to be in situations like that with exes, where it's like, I'm going to still be your best friend. And then I get to hear about all the guys that you're with, and it's like, this sucks.
No.
You know, I don't want this. And you lose people that you thought you were going to be with for a long time, but it's all good because you're building towards realizing really who you are, because at the end of the day, again, it's you and yourself, and you get to invite other people in to enjoy that space with you and connect with them and really just experience life. But you don't need to be friends with everyone. And it's really a negative, I think, if you just start collecting people just for the sake of it.
Yeah, it's not honest.
Because you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Right. So really focus more, again, back on you. And is this working for me?
Right.
And if it's not working for you, that's what you speak from, not you're a bad person, you really turn me off, you're super needy. You don't say those things. And I'm kind of like mortified when I look back at a post I made when I left. I had gone on one date with somebody. It was so obviously not a good fit. He was like stalking me on Facebook, and
that's always fun, right?
He was like, oh my God, I'm tongue-tied. You're so beautiful. I looked at all your pictures, and I was just like, yeah. Number. Also, we went to Starbucks. It was his choice. And he said, on the way in, he said, I don't like coffee or tea. And I'm like, okay, why?
Yeah, you chose a great place. Yeah.
So like,
I love the ambiance here.
From the beginning, you know, and I said yes to a second date because I was afraid to say no in the moment. And, you know, that was just me years ago before I became much more self-aware and was able to be honest. But it happens to all of us. And so when he was just like sending me all these texts and, oh my God, can't wait to see you again, I felt I had to end it right there. Yeah. And I over-explained and I took care of his feelings, and you're probably not going to want to hear this. Don't do any of those things.
Cut to the chase. Nobody likes to waste time.
Yeah.
And you're not doing anybody any favors by going, you know, I've really enjoyed the journey with you. And that joke that you made last week was so funny. You're a great guy. And it's just like, okay, what are you saying? So just get to the point.
And don't lie and say you met somebody else.
Yeah, right. Don't do that.
That's the traditional, I would, you know, really had a great time. Unfortunately, you know, I met someone else, or my old ex got back and like,
just be honest.
Don't do any of those things. So just a couple more reasons why people ghost. It's like when in Rome, do what the Romans do. That became like the norm. Everybody ghosts, so you ghost too. And I'm inviting you to be in integrity with yourself, like I said to Max, and don't do it because everybody else is doing. You take the high road.
Because even if everyone's doing it, whenever you're on the receiving end, you're like, that felt horrible.
Right.
What did I do wrong? And it's like most of the time, it's nothing within you that you did. But again, at the end of the day, all these things are great learning experiences. So if you acted a certain way, like I learned a lot from the last serious relationship that I was in. It teaches you so much when you're humble and you try to look at yourself and go, I acted in ways that I don't think I would ever want to do again, because it was so out of alignment with myself. So you always be looking in the mirror with these types of things. It doesn't mean that there's always something wrong with you, but there's always a learning experience, like a takeaway.
Absolutely. And the more we can learn, the better we do. And I mean, I remember even one of the things I do with clients is to look at their messaging. And so I would look at messages that they were sending to men on the dating apps or the dating sites, and the messages were so long. It was like, I feel the connection, so I'm going to share my entire life story.
Don't do that.
So don't do that.
Yeah.
And that can be a reason why somebody runs away, because it's like, oh, wait a minute, this person hasn't worked through their stuff. They're sharing way too much. So one other reason that people ghost is they hate conflict, and it's they believe,
who likes conflict,
right? Or you can not love conflict. I mean, conflict is not fun, but you can learn better ways to approach anything that feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like we've been talking about all along. Like it's so important to learn how to communicate, how to say your truth, and to just say, I'm not feeling the connection I was looking for, and I wish you the best of luck. That is it. It doesn't have to be this big, long thing. And, oh my God, you're so amazing. Some woman is going to be so happy with you. Like, no, none of that. None of that.
So what else do we have?
So if you've been ghosted, and you want to know what happened, and sometimes it is legitimate to reach out, especially if you've been dating for a while and somebody disappeared, you can reach out and say, is everything okay? I mean, I have done it years ago. I had a person who we really had a fantastic connection, and he was traveling, and then I didn't hear from him. And I just checked in, everything okay? How was your travels? And that kind of got the ball rolling again. He got a little overwhelmed with work when he got back. So sometimes it's not really ghosting, it's that they just kind of got busy. And it's okay if you're not coming in with neediness and where'd you go? Because you're going to build a story again, and then by the time you talk to them, you're pissed off and you're going to push them away.
Back to that original comment that you were saying about communication, because if you're the type of person who goes, I really need to hear from you, just every once in a while, just so I know what's going on with you. I mean, if you know yourself and that's the way that you operate well, that's okay to say. And if the other person goes, that's so not me, then you're not going to be compatible, because at the end of the day, you're looking for a partner and a teammate. You're looking for somebody who can be compatible with your lifestyle. And if the other person isn't, that's fine. Good luck in your journey. I'm going to keep looking for my person or my multiple people, whatever it's going to be. I mean, everybody is different. You are unique. Find out what makes you tick and find people who will click with you.
Yeah, don't try to make somebody into something they're not. And in the same vein, it's so important, like if you're in a relationship and maybe you want to have a daily touch base, and let's say I would love to have an evening call before we both go to bed. Does that work for you?
You just have to know your
style. Put it out there, right? Put it out there instead of being pissed off that the person didn't do it because they can't read your mind.
Right.
Really learn to deal with rejection. It is one of the most important things, because dating is a lot of no's. It's really not going to be
just like everything in life, business,
but dating is vulnerable. Dating is really vulnerable, much more than business. It's like people take it really personally if somebody doesn't ask them out again, and they don't have the right of refusal.
Well, I don't know. I mean, because even, as an entrepreneur, you're reaching out to people all the time. And if you don't hear back from somebody in the way that you wanted to, if you're trying to connect with a client or somebody else, and you don't get an answer that feels right, I mean, that can hurt also, because it does feel like rejection on a level if you've impacted somebody, or, you can help someone and they don't respond the way that you want.
Yeah, you have to learn not to take it personally.
Yeah,
it's really not. It's almost never personal. But there is something to learn, like how am I presenting myself? So if you are the person who ghosts, so we're talking about people getting ghosted, if you are the ghoster, And like if you've been intimate in any way, if you have had a few
Right.
dates and you're ghosting somebody, I want to encourage you to
Don't do it.
not do it.
Yeah, cut
Just
that out.
yeah, cut it out. If you had a change of heart, it's
Yeah.
okay.
This
It's
is
okay.
the year that you start communicating in a honest and aligned way with how you would want people to communicate with you.
Right. It's easy to just disappear.
Yeah.
It feels better when you've been truthful, both for you and for the other person.
Especially too, because you start mirroring the behavior, rather not mirroring, but you are projecting the type of people that you, when you act the way that you want
Mhm.
other people to treat you, you invite the same people back in, because the people who
Definitely.
can't handle it will walk away and the people who can will stick around or won't. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you have to be okay with yourself, but
Yeah,
you have to walk your talk. So this is it.
absolutely. So the bottom
Yeah.
line is do not ghost and don't overreact when somebody does ghost. Move on. Don't take it personally, but take the high road yourself. Learn how to, number one, deal with what we call rejection. I don't even see it as rejection if you don't even know the person
Yeah.
well. But like, don't take these things personally. It's not personal. It's actually somebody, the universe is doing a favor and helping you to
And if you-
find the person who is right for you.
And if you don't believe in the universe or, religious things like that, like I certainly am not, that's not my speed. I think it's more you're just trying to find better connections. If this person can't handle it or whatever it is, you have learned a really valuable lesson and you're going to keep focusing on putting out the right energy that you want, and you will bring in the people who can handle that. I mean, it's just your life will become easier when you are honest with people.
I so agree. And
So,
I just want to say one
yeah.
more point, that a lot of articles focus on, or even conversations in forums, they focus on really shaming the ghoster and saying, what a jerk, that if you
Toxic
deserve
people,
better, that's
all
a
that
toxic
stuff.
person,
Yeah.
and obviously doesn't have skills. And having helped you go through this last experience where it would have been easier to ghost, you ended up doing the right thing in the end. But it's not going to help you to just put the other person down.
It never helps.
No.
It's that thing about, drinking poison and hoping the other person dies or whatever, gets hurt. You have to do it for yourself.
Yep, do it for yourself.
Yeah.
So don't ghost. Be brave,
Yeah.
be bold, be courageous, and have those conversations that may be uncomfortable in the short term,
Yeah.
but in the long run, you're going to feel better, and it's going to help you to find
Yeah.
the person that you're going to be more compatible with.